So you cannot change the rules. You cannot change the world. You cannot change the World Health Organization. You cannot change the pyramid. You cannot change the my plate. But you can definitely create a good community and tell them the truth. And then they can have an informed decision. They have the guidelines from one side and facts from another side for them to decide. And I truly believe that there's a way to cure and treat diseases with nutrition that is not being used.
Okay, good morning, everybody. I'd like to say thanks everybody for being here. We have a special guest today. We have Dr. and I apologize if I mispronounce, but Guillermo Navarrete. I believe that's how you say that. So anyway, Guillermo, thank you for being here. I don't know if you might have to unmute yourself. No, I think you're on, so we should be able to hear you. Can you hear us?
Yes, I do.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for being here. Now you're in. Remind me where you. Are you in like Miami or something like that? I thought for some reason I'm thinking that's the case.
Exactly, Miami. Yeah,
awesome. That's a wonderful. That's a nice place to be. It's a warm, warm area. A lot of good stuff, good food over there, and that sort of stuff. So, first of all, thank you for doing this and for being here and doing what you do in general, just providing nutrition, which I think is such a crucial role to health. And I think if more people would focus on that, we'd have a better world for sure. But tell us a little bit about your background. Tell us about who you are. And unfortunately, my Spanish is not very good, so I'll have to do it in English.
Well, my English is not very good either, but I'm trying my best.
It's better than Spanish, I guarantee that.
Well, let me start saying that it's an honor to be here with you and with your group. You have been probably one of the most inspiring professionals in my career, or I could say in the turn of my career. So I was a conventional nutritionist doing conventional stuff, conventional diets, that 50-60% carbs, that regular things that we are told in the university. Even during the time that I was teaching in the university, I was teaching that. So what I'm a little bit ashamed about, but things change. You need to know in this kind of information era, you need to know who to follow, who to read, who to see, and then the patients give you the evidence. So you can try things with them because you see that what you're doing is not 100% working, and you try other things, then work, then that's the evidence. You don't need peer-reviewed studies for everything. You need peer-reviewed people having the consequences of what you're doing. And you have been greatly inspiring for me in my career. So I'm grateful for being here, for being with you, and for being in touch with your group for whatever I can help them. My background is in human nutrition. I'm a PhD in human nutrition from Spain, from the University of Granada. I have been almost my entire life treating obesity until 2010 that I went to Guatemala and Honduras and the whole Central America to treat malnutrition. And when you mix those worlds, the nutrition so people that eat a lot and people that cannot eat, you have a good idea of what's important and what's not for our body. Because there's a lot of people telling us that some things are important for our health, but then when you feed those things to people that doesn't eat, so to people that are with malnutrition, they don't recover. So there's something wrong that when you see all those words, you can figure it out. So after being there for 4 years and working with the governments of El Salvador and Guatemala and looking at that world, I ended up in Miami. I met my wife during one weekend that I came to see a soccer match. I met my wife and everything changed. I came here to live and start from scratch. Now, 7 years later, I have a successful clinic here in Miami. I'm on TV on the morning show that all the Latins see every morning. And I'm on my way to change people's mind about nutrition, to change. So you cannot change the rules. You cannot change the world. You cannot change the World Health Organization. You cannot change the pyramid. You cannot change my plate. but you can definitely create a good community and tell them the truth. And then they can have an informed decision. They have the guidelines from one side and facts from another side for them to decide. And I truly believe that there's a way to cure and treat diseases with nutrition that is not being used. And every nutritionist knows that there's way more to do with nutrition than what we have been told or from what we're doing. So, in my opinion, 7 out of 10 diseases can be reversed with just quitting sugar and flour. So that's my fight. My fight in this world is against sugar and telling people first what not to eat, and then what to eat, and third what to do with their timing, with during the day, with the habits to have more than food in their healthy life. Other choices that can also provide health.
That is, that's very powerful, and I think, the thing you said, the peer-reviewed results, and I guess, like I said, when I there's always this furious debate about what's the right diet and all this stuff, and I said, well, just look what happens to people, and that should be the end of the discussion. When you have people that unequivocally are getting healthier by just about any metric you can measure, uh, you have to be doing the right thing. I mean, I think it's just obvious. And I think, you're right. It's going to take uh, a lot of scientists dying off. Like I can't, I don't know who was it, Max Planck or someone said, science advances one death at a time. But we have, this sort of ingrained dogma. No matter what you say, it's always, well, oh my gosh, your cholesterol went up, or oh, how can you dare eat that saturated fat type of stuff. Within the Latin community, I mean, it's great because I like I said, I don't speak Spanish. I wish I did. I wish I could speak a lot of languages because I think so many people benefit from this message. And I think you've got a very large social media following. I know I follow you on Instagram, I think, and there is a need. I've because I've been doing this now for a while, and I have people asking me, when are you going to put it in Spanish? And I'm like, I just don't have I just can't do that right now. But what has been so within that particular community, is this message harder, do you think? Is it hard to be received? Is it so ingrained that we have to eat a certain amount of carbohydrates or flours and sugars, or are you getting some level of acceptance there?
Well, main problem is we don't have a Spanish or Latin ShawnBaker advocating for that with power and stuff. So as soon as your example and all the people that are pushing these kind of diet, maybe not forever, maybe not for everyone, but certainly for a lot of people, for most of the people, we will probably have more influence on their brains because they are still back in time, not at the level of the standard American diet, but all the countries in Latin America are so attached to carbohydrates because of their culture. And if you go to Mexico, you will find tortillas being daily part of their lives. If you go to the whole Central America, have tortillas for like daily. Then in part of Central America, you will find that the usual breakfast is rice with beans every single day. They call it gallo pinto, and they do it every day. If you go to Venezuela or Colombia, you will find arepas, which is corn meal every day, sometimes 2 or 3 times a day. So it's part of the culture. So it's so difficult to tell them not to do it. But what you can do is, okay, do it once a day if you want, but just add more things. So the arepa is like a cornmeal tortilla in which you put something inside. Okay, put meat, put fish, put eggs, put good protein and fat inside there, and then eat it. And then there will be no problem. And avoid sugar, because if you want to do sugar and flours and then seed oils and all that kind of things, then the problem will be. So I don't think you become a diabetic because you eat carbs. You become a diabetic because you are addicted to some carbs and you do it daily and in huge amounts. Then you over time become a diabetic. So if you tell them the moderation message, which is what I have been doing for 20 years, it doesn't work. You cannot moderate something that is addictive. And just it's so stupid to even the idea of us as a nutritionist telling them to lower the amounts is stupid. So imagine I don't know, imagine a smoker being said by the doctor, you need to smoke less. Or a heavy drinker or an alcoholic being said in AA meetings, you have to drink less. Just eat 1 glass of tequila a day, 1 glass of tequila a week. It makes no sense. Don't drink. That's the message. Don't smoke. That's the message. And then if there's people that can't smoke 1 cigarette a day, good for you, do it. But it will not be my advice. With sugar, it's the same. It's causing more problems, more diseases than tobacco and alcohol together. So why should I tell people to moderate the intake of sugar? Bullshit. I don't want to. It's just the way I choose to do it because I have been doing the opposite during 20 years and people still eat a lot of sugar. So when you send that message to avoid sugar completely, the first thing that people ask you is, in Latin America, is okay, so what should I substitute that with? Okay, then you open the Pandora box and a whole report, 20 pages, telling their doctors why they shouldn't be concerned about cholesterol and why the enhanced study and the 5 centenarians went to 100 years with cholesterol levels over 200 and LDL levels over 130 and all the, I don't know, all the evidence that you know perfectly. And then we try convincing them of doing what we tell them to do. But is in Latin America, it's difficult at the moment, but not impossible because we're doing it. It's difficult to change mind, but it's our duty, it's our mission, and we are on the way to do it. Now we have another problem with the Agenda 2030 that is against us again and is promoting some kind of things again in the Latin community, targeting them for them to stop eating meat and to stop eating fish and to stop eating eggs and eat the other things that they want to push them to eat. But again, in a war, we have grandparents and grandparents that had to fight wars and risk their lives. The only thing we are risking in this fight is our Instagram accounts, some followers, and things that we can risk. And it's a great fight because the enemies that we have right now with food are the same enemies that our grandparents had with weapons. So it's a pleasure to fight this fight.
Yeah, it's and thank you for doing that. And I think your statement that you cannot tell someone to moderate a food which they can't moderate, and that's what we say all the time. When you see the dietitian, well, it's okay to have a little cake here and there, and people take that as, I can eat it, and therefore they just continue to eat more and more of that. And I think your point that it's not carbohydrates driving diabetes; it's the overconsumption of them, and carbohydrates are so, particularly and I wouldn't just say carbohydrates, but the processed food that carbohydrates often are a huge part of, are so easy to overconsume and so easy to be addicted to, and it's so cheap, and it's so accessible, and it's so there's just such a pressure to eat this stuff, and it's you're setting people up for failure. And I think being a little more stern is probably the right message. And the fact that I do feel that we are in a war more or less for the future of our children, for the future of nutrition, for the future of the population and society's health. And if we don't have people that are willing to stand up, we are going to rapidly. I mean, we already look around. We're already, you can walk around Miami or wherever, whatever major city, and you can just see so many obese people, so many people suffering from chronic disease. And Miami's probably better than many cities because they have at least a little bit more sunshine and activity. But you go to most places and it is everywhere, and it's only getting worse. I mean, you've been in this game for decades now. Surely you've seen the standard advice has just not worked. And you said 7 out of 10 diseases you think can be basically reversed with reduction of flour and sugar. What are the diseases you typically see people getting better? I mean, obviously diabetes would be one, I would imagine, but what are you treating and what are you seeing?
Probably other than diabetes and heart disease and cancer, all the hormone related diseases. So every hormone related disease is driven by high insulin or by a lack of response of that individual to maintain insulin sensitivity over time. And there is scientific proof that Latin American people have difficulties managing lactose, just for an example, versus people from Europe, probably from their ancestors or perspective or whatever reason. It's clear that they have less or more likely to have a intolerance, lactose intolerance, from compared to Europeans. There's probably the same with sugar, or probably the same with the change that they have had in the flours. Because even if they think they are eating the same tortilla, or even if they think they're eating the same arepa, it's not the same because the corn is not the same. It has been genetically modified. That flour is not the same flour, and it's not the same. I can get your wife, Shawn, out of your house, and I can put another lady with the same name. It will not be the same. I don't know if it will be worse or better, but it will not be the same. But that's what's happening with bread and with the cornmeal. They call it the same, but it's not the same because the ingredients are not the same. The bread that people is taking as bread is not bread anymore. It's a mix of ingredients that is being called the same, but for your body, it's not the same. The same that lady would not be the same for you, probably worse than your wife. So we need to understand what's happening because those are misleading things that make people say, "Oh, bread is an ancient food." No, it's not. At least not the bread you're taking. Oh, but the Mayan took corn as this, and I'm coming from a Mayan. Yeah, but it's not the same corn. And then the Mayan was outside every day, and they did manual work every day, and they did things that you're not doing. So either you change your food or you change your habits. You need to change something to be a Mayan again if you want to respect that ancient things. Or you can choose a pretty easier solution, which is eating something that can be eaten in any part of the planet, in any corner of the planet, which is eggs, meat, and fish. It doesn't matter which culture, which country, which continent you are, you will always find fish, meat, and eggs. So if we need to do like a planetary diet or planetary guidelines, we need to use the foods that every human being on the planet can use. And again, we do something monthly, which is sending food to Venezuela and Guatemala. If you, the only way to recover a child that is with malnutrition is give them butter, eggs, chicken, meat, or sardines. That's what we give them. We don't give any other oil that the FAO give them. We don't give rice. We don't give wheat. We don't give any of the things that they are given. They will never recover with that. They get even sicker and die. But nothing, they think that is better than nothing. No, I don't agree with that. So if that can recover people, there needs to be someone else pushing. That's why, again, what you do and what this community probably that has people and professionals working together will probably do for the future.
Yeah, that's a good point when we talk about a planetary diet. You want food that's available all over the planet. And, if for people that don't know, human beings are the most geographically diverse species on the planet. We occupy more land area than any other species. The second most being a wolf, and wolves are everywhere because they eat a diet very similar to what humans do. I mean, what we're designed to eat, which is, access to meat. And I find that very interesting and not surprising, as I've seen other studies out of Africa where kids that are impoverished and malnourished, when they get meat in their diet, it dramatically improves them, whether it's meat or dairy or whatever, with some sort of animal product, makes a huge, huge difference. What have you seen personally? Because, it's nice to say, well, that we think this, but are you seeing, like you said, what are the results you're actually seeing? So when you get people that are actually able to and willing to change their diet to maybe a more animal focused diet, what kind of results do you see?
You want me to show you people that eat a lot and change, or people that don't eat at all and change?
Whatever you've got. We'll look at both
Okay,
if you can. Yeah, sure.
this is a diabetic. He used to be a diabetic.
Right.
So I was with him on the TV show because he reversed diabetes and lost, I don't know how many, like 100 pounds. And that's an example of someone that is overweight and diabetic and high blood pressure and kind of at the beginning of heart disease, treated with statins and so on, that completely reversed the condition, normal weight, not just him, but his family. The whole family changed. Now he has no pills, no disease, no anything, completely reversed. And the other example, which for me is even more impactful, is children. Because as you said, there's a huge difference. And I don't know if this is the right way to show. I don't know if you will be able to see the
Yeah, we can
change.
see it. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, she looked very, very thin and malnourished on the left side. Yeah, for sure.
This is within 1 month. And
Wow.
trust me, when I was there living, we couldn't do this in 1 month. See this.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. Yeah, wow. I mean, at first
This
of all, it's sad to see them in that state, with the looks like the knees are, their skin breakdown and all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
this is 3 weeks. 3 weeks of meat, chicken, fish, sardines, butter, and eggs. So, and they eat it. So the problem is sometimes they cannot chew, but you can give them raw eggs perfectly and they can still do it. The same with the butter. So we are now doing a shake for breakfast. And we call it Nutri Breakfast, that we put MCTOs and collagen and coconut oil, fats and protein that we can mix and give them. And we are using it for people to lose weight and having a breakfast like the bulletproof thing, and for them to recover. The same exact formula is recovering people from either obesity or malnutrition. And that's what nutrients can do. The only thing that we need is an army of people spreading that information.
Yeah, yeah, and hopefully we'll get that. And I think, the point, I would say in many cases, obesity is a form of malnutrition because mal just means wrong nutrition. And we're seeing, you can obviously if you don't have access to any nutrition, that's a form of malnutrition or starvation. But obesity, in my view, I mean, these people are undernourished also, even though they're overweight. They've got a lot of calories, but they don't have nutrition. They don't have true nutrients. And so what I mean, within your clinic, is there any testing you like to do? Do you like test for insulin, or what kind of tests do you do that might not be typical, or do you do any of that?
There is probably two tests that are new and that makes a difference between our clinic and other clinics. We do what we call LPPs, a lipoprotein particle profile. So other than the regular LDL, HDL, triglycerides, and total cholesterol, we do a whole study on other markers. Like, that there's that thing they call bad cholesterol, the LDL, has four forms: LDL 1, 2, 3, and 4 in Roman numbers. And the two dangerous ones are the LDL 3 and 4. But nobody measures that. As soon as they see more than 100 or 130, they say, oh, you have high bad cholesterol, you need to take statins, or you need to do this and that, or stop your ketogenic or your carnivore diet because you're going to die. Then you send them to really see those numbers. And then you realize that, like me, the number one um, and number two types of LDL are the ones that are high, and LDL 3 and 4 are low, which is not atherogenic at all. That is not even known, surprisingly, by most of the practitioners of from the regular doctors, internists, or cardiologists. So how can we work with the cardiologist together for saving someone if the cardiologist is working with knowledge from 20 years ago? And he even feels bad when you tell him, hey, listen, there is this test to do. And they don't want to do it because they don't know how to interpret that. Then when you have LPP particle profile, when you have the number of particles, when you have the kind of particles, the ones that are oxidized, or the HDL number of the 2B buoyant, the LPA, the lipoprotein A, the high sensitivity CRP, the insulin being lower than 5 and almost 16, those are the real markers that you need to analyze. Those are the real tellers of how your heart is doing, or those are the real trends that you want to see over time to see how someone is behaving with a particular diet that you put him in. I can show you now if you want. I can share
Yeah,
my screen
yeah, let's do that. That'd
and
be very fascinating. Let me allow you to do that real quick, and I'd like to see that because the lipoprotein isoforms, I've not seen a lot of people talking about, and that's I think an interesting concept when we're talking about risk factors because we have this sort of very basic understanding of you know cholesterol, and I think it's more nuanced, and so this is great. So you should be able to share that now if you want. Um,
okay. So when I'm about to show you, because of course watching that analysis is good, but it's even better to see the trend, to see how someone that started 1 year and went 1 year into this diet that I promote and that you promote also, and that awaken, nutritionally speaking, awaken people promote, can do that change. But the only thing we need is to prove it with numbers, to prove it with science over time. And I think this is the proof. We have a second one that I will show you too, just for you to see that we have the evidence. And all of these started in Peter Diamandis' longevity trip. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him and what he does. Peter Diamandis is the founder of X Prize. He groups a lot of people that influence the future of the world, and he does one trip once a year. It's called the Planet Longevity Trip. For 5 days, they go to every single big company that is working in longevity. He makes you meet the scientists, and he makes you meet the people that are driving the future on longevity. And guess what they are doing? They are trying to isolate BHB to give it in a pill because they don't trust people having, so they don't have people creating internal BHB. So they want to give people that in a pill. So that one of the ketone bodies for people. So that's the most promising investment that they are doing, investing billions on that. So it's crazy because the pill has 25 milligrams and we can have like 150, if I'm not wrong, a day for free. But well, those are the kind of things that I'm surprised about, but they are again way behind. In that trip, I saw that him, so the promoter of this group, had 50 in his LDL cholesterol. So I told him after his talk, I told him, Peter, I admire you and I really want you to be okay. I saw you have 50. In my opinion, it's not that you're not gonna get to 100 years. You're not gonna get to 80 years with a LDL of 50. So he's pretty good friends of David Sinclair and some people that are promoting to take statins and to have low LDL. But I gave him the other perspective. So what if LDL is not bad if you know your kind of subtype of LDL? So we started working with him. We did the 22-day no sugar challenge with him and his team. He lost a lot of weight. He went out of meds. No more beta blockers, no more statins, no more anything. His cardiologist lost like 40 pounds also, and everyone was happy. And they even featured that in the last Tony Robbins book that made with him, Peter Diamandis and Tony together. They did that book called Life Force. They put it in page 505 that particular thing, so taking away sugar for 22 days, changed his life. So we started looking at that in a broader way. So with his cardiologist, we went into this that you're going to see, and now we're trying to making people know about this. Let me. You said I can share my screen now.
yeah, there you go.
Oh, this is one. This is a test, but I want to show you two that we can compare. Dan, I think it's Benamor. Is the only patient that I have written permission to show. So you know how this works. I don't want to show something.
So this is called the Spectracell Labs that does this particular test. Is that correct?
Yeah, correct. So this is from 2021. This one is a year later. So after that 22-day no sugar challenge that we did, a lot of people decided to go for a whole year after the 22 days. And the people that went for a whole year, we did this group called sharks because there's just one vertebrated animal that gets to 100, which is a Greenland shark. So we chose that name and we had that group working together. I remember that you were almost one of our guests one month. Maybe we can do that.
We will do that for sure. I now have a better situation where it's not so quite as hectic. It's busy, but I've got a little more stability where I'm at. And I was in the middle of moving and living in different locations, so we're back. We got our house set up now. So
and I love the place you are right now. So you're lucky. So this is the whole test. This is for on the left you have the 2021 results. On the right you have 2022 results after a year. So she did this with 350 total cholesterol. And again, this lipid panel thing is what they will do with you in any geologist
that's a basic lipid panel there, right? Sure.
So she's 315 total cholesterol and 198 LDL cholesterol. This is the regular test that would do your cardiologist screen and freak out. And it's even if you have 84 triglycerides and 74 HDL, which gives you a good profile in insulin resistance. But again, you need to do this to know how you really are. So after we did it, we saw that effectively the dense LDL 3 and 4, which is the dangerous ones, were the one that she had high. So now we have a real reason to be concerned and to be worried about the situation. What else we can see? Well, we can see here that they put red on the total LDL particles and non-HDL particles. This is not really true, but we will talk about that later. Let's focus on the LDL 3 and 4, which is the main thing that this test measures that allows you to know if you need to be worried for that patient or not. Then here you can see insulin and this high sensitivity C-reactive protein, which is another key because it tells you that there's inflammation. It was 4.28, and the lipoprotein 8, which is another driver of you being worried or not. Then at the end, there's almost 16, also high, and the metabolic syndrome is probably there. Perfect. So what do we have? We have the kind of atherogenic LDL going on in a very high number. What do we do? Carnivore diet or a keto carnivore diet. Sometimes some weeks of keto, some weeks of carnivore, and they decide when they will do low carb because sometimes they will fall off the wagon and go back. And the good thing about the follow-ups during 1 year is that even if they fell off the wagon, it will not be more than 1 or 2 weeks. So they go back again and you can track them for a whole year. What happened after a year? Well, it didn't change that much, but total cholesterol was from 315 to 269 and LDL from 198 to 154. It will still make your cardiologist being sad and worried about you. Probably not sad, but yeah, wanting to put you on statins. The thing is, the qualitative analysis changed. And the LDL3 went from 493 for almost 500 to almost 250. So it went 50% and now to normal levels. And this was down 50% too, from 220 to 110, which is great. I don't think this should be yellow anymore. This should be green. But yeah, they have their own reference range here that puts it on yellow. We are now working on having our own colors for our patients in our clinic. So when the Spectral Cell guys send us this, we can put it in our system and use our own reference range, of course, backed by science and studies. So this should be all green, so the patient is good in this side. Let's see insulin. Well, it went from 5.2 to 2.6, which is a great outcome too. High sensitivity CRP, so inflammation went from 4.6. Look at this, is 0.05. So it's virtually no inflammation markers in her blood. Lipoprotein A was 20, still in good levels, and apolipoprotein B, it will be still yellow because it's correlated with the total LDL particles. So of course, if they consider that this is too much LDL, they will consider that this is too much ApoB. But this is not too much. If you're eating more fat, of course, you need to mobilize more fat. But look at the homocysteine, another gray marker from 12.1 to 8, normal levels. And of course, metabolic syndrome was from existing to non-existent. This is 1 year of changes that your cardiologist will not see. They will keep pushing statins without even understanding what's going on in the body. But this is one of the things that we do in the clinic different than others. And there's one major thing. Even if you find problems here, what we do with this is playing with numbers. And playing with numbers seems like a roulette or a bingo or something like that. What if we could actually see the plaque, which is what I did with this guy from Abundance 360 and from that Peter Diamandis environment? Because they saw the 350 total cholesterol in my blood and 250 LDL, and they said, well, you have plaque. So I went to do that CT coronary calcium score, and I scored 0. They said, well, that's pretty impressive, but there is one more thing you should do to convince us. So what? There is something called Cleerly, and it's like a CT angiogram with more than 64 slices that is actually a picture of your arteries. So you're not playing with numbers. It's actually a picture where you can see the 3 kinds of plaque: the soft plaque, the LDL plaque, and the calcified plaque in any artery with a picture. So you are not playing anymore, you're watching. So, well, what do I have to do that? Well, you need to come to Naples and do this and that. Well, a whole morning invested. And I went there, paid the price, did that, and I'm going to show you. If you want to see the results, I want to show you my artery.
Yeah, that'd be wonderful. Yeah, let me just before you do that, this patient that you show the labs on, you're showing, these are risk factors. What was going on clinically? Did that patient lose weight? Did they improve other just regular clinical things that you looked at?
She had amazing improvements in her day to day. So she didn't sleep. Now she sleeps. She was feeling tired every day. Now she feels energized every day. She had problems in circulation in the legs. She doesn't have that anymore.
Do we know?
She went so good that she decided, well, I don't know if that's the point, but she decided to separate from the husband and find a new life, because she felt so alive that that influenced a lot of decisions in her life because of how she felt. I don't know if that's a good outcome or not, but so she felt completely different and alive, which is a great outcome.
I mean, that's a great health outcome. Whether the marriage outcome, that'll be up for them to decide. Let me ask you one other question, because you mentioned the LDL 3 and 4, subtypes. What is the data that shows us that is actually predictive of good health outcomes? I'm not familiar with that. Is there studies that show longitudinally what happens when we track those things?
Tell me that again.
So how do we know that lowering LDL3 and LDL4 actually results in better outcomes? Is there some studies that
Well, because those two are the ones that get oxidized and tend to be being part of the LDL plaque when you find LDL plaque.
Okay.
So when you glycate the LDL, so just for putting your audience here in perspective, it's like a forest and the fire. So if you have a forest, that's great. You can spend time inside and you have a great, I don't know, life inside the forest. But there's one case that the forest will be a nightmare, and is if you put fire on it and it all burns and there will be a nightmare. But that doesn't mean that you need to cut all the trees just for them not to light on fire. You just take care of not put fire on them. That's cholesterol and sugar. So if you have a lot of sugar circulating in your blood, and one of the signs is you have high triglycerides and you have high blood sugar, that sugar will glycate the LDL. And the same way that it does with hemoglobin turn into glycated hemoglobin, it does to LDL. So when it gets glycated, it circulates without being taken by the liver and will be smaller, and then it accumulates in the intima, in the arteries. And those are the LDL 3 and 4. So those correlates perfectly with the amount of plaque when you find plaque. The LDL 1 and 2 are that big that they cannot accumulate in your arteries. And those are the ones that protect you from diseases, from infections, from any virus or any infection in the body. LDL is probably one of the first, one of your friends. And when you have a disease, that's why when we see the centenarians in the NHANES study, they will probably show why do you need those cholesterol levels to get to 100 years.
Yeah, I've seen many studies where longevity is correlated to higher cholesterol levels. Yeah, that's a neat study there. There's a so the 3 and 4, they're both denser than the 1 and 2, and they also tend towards oxidation and glycation. Is that what I'm understanding now? And
They are smaller and denser, and for the same reason. And those are the ones that are accumulated in the arteries when you have, again, high blood sugar. It's not the cholesterol, it's the sugar that glycates that cholesterol, turning that LDL into 3 and 4. It's the same that it's not the trees that are guilty for the fire. It's the fire itself.
And so when we do biopsies on cholesterol plaques, we find a predominance of the 3 and 4 subtypes, or you can image that. Apparently, it sounds like you're able to image that as well.
Yeah, and that's when you want to see the actual LDL plaque, to see that correlation. This is what the patient receives when they do that test, that Cleerly test that we do here in the clinic, when people are supposed to have some problem. This is just for information in the patient. This is the 3 kinds of plaque that you can see in this test. You can see yellow in the soft non-calcified plaque. You can see blue in the calcified plaque, and you can see red in the LDL plaque. And these are my results. Oh, by the way, this is an example of how it looks in that picture in someone's artery. You can see one side and the other, the kind of plaque that is in that particular artery. You're probably more concerned about the left main and the left coronary artery than the other ones, but you are all concerned by the whole thing. Again, this is just the explanation. Let's go to the results. So these are my results. And I was supposed to have a lot of plaque because I was a smoker since I was 12 years old. In Spain, everybody smokes since you are young. So the fact that you smoke is what makes you a man and not a child anymore. So you are even encouraged by your parents to smoke when you're young. It's crazy, but it was like that, not anymore. But I was a smoker since 12 to 37 years old. So I was supposed to have some plaque. But it turns out I have the plaque like a 5-year-old boy. And again, more than 300 cholesterol, more than 200 LDL. These are the only, This is not. No, this is not me. Wait a second. And I'm happy that I found out. Patient. Mm-mm-mm. If I put patient, I should have.
And are you seeing a very tight relationship between the Cleerly results and that spectral uh, assay with
Absolutely.
okay.
There is a, well, we are in early stages, so we don't have a lot of results yet with the Cleerly. We have like 10 patients that we have been able to do it because it's new, it's just 1 year, and also because it's expensive. So what I paid in that time was $3,500 for doing that. That for me was an investment because it was a way to prove that I was right in what I tell people to do. But for people, after I contact them directly, I'm able to do it for less than $2,000. So compared to the 3,500, it's
Mhm.
way better. But it's still an investment for a lot of people. Not everybody can do it. So I will still look for mine. There you go. This is
There
mine.
there you go.
Perfect. So let me close this. Let's make it bigger. And this is mine. So 0 severe stenosis, 0 moderate, and 3 mild, which means there's less than 49% stenosis in 3 places of my body, of my heart. Those 3 places are in the same place, right here in this segment, which is insignificant. So you don't pretend that your arteries are 100% clean. The same way you don't pretend that your house is 100% clean. Your house will get dirty every day and you have to clean it every day. Then you keep it clean. The problem is it gets dirty every day and you don't clean. So these 3 things are probably being fixed that same day or maybe that same week or whatever. But there is just these small, almost imperceptible things here in the left main. If you see the whole number of arteries, the first diagonal has 0, 0, 0, 0. So no plaque. The second diagonal, which is these two, are probably one of the most broad ones that people have plaque. Even if they have low, they have. Second diagonal, 0, 0, 0, 0. Let's see the right coronary artery, which is at my age, it's pretty common that there's plaque, but there's no 0, 0, 0, 0. So the cleanest possible. The right posterior descending 0, 0, 0, 0. Right posterolateral 0, 0, 0, 0. Circumflex 0, 0, 0, 0. First obtuse 0. Second obtuse 0. So and left posterolateral the same. So there's virtually no plaque. And I have 45 years old and I have been smoking my entire life. And I just went carnivore 4 years ago and keto 7 years ago. So it's not that amount of time to be as clean, but it's the truth. So there's even if I do all these tests, there's no more evidence than this that I'm clean. So who can tell me that my cholesterol levels are dangerous, that my diet is not good, that what I promote is not good for everyone? Again, I'm still n equals one, but if we do this more, we will have more data to tell the world that we are right.
Yeah, and that's fascinating. And like I said, I haven't had a Cleerly step, but I had a coronary artery calcium scan, which was also 0 after eating years of 3 or 4 pounds of red meat a day and ketogenic diets prior to that. And so I'm not surprised at all to see that. Do you, I mean, again, this is a relatively new test. I know it's only been out for a year or so or something like that. Do we know if we've seen changes? And has anybody done serial tests where they can look at before and afters yet? Because that would be also fascinating to see if we see actually some reversal of disease. That would be an interesting case series to look at that. So hopefully that gets done as well. That would be really, I think, I think that'd be real
For,
fascinating.
for me, the most important thing, and you're right, the fascinating thing will be watching this over time, having the trend. But we started doing it this year. So I don't have yet the year-long test as I have with the Spectral cell LPP test. But probably and hopefully in 1 year from now, we will have some stuff. And the key is not just the trend. The key is how engaged you got that person to make sure that what they would be doing during that period of time is so certain that you can link that lifestyle with the outcome, with the trend in the angiogram. But people that do this angiogram are way more committed to a change in their health because at the point that they do that and they see the plaque, then if you're not committed after that, you will never be committed because it's your life that you're risking. And if you tell them the right things during the first consultation, when you read that, you don't want to scare them. You, of course, you won't because it's the best for them, but you don't want to scare them to death. The only thing that you need to tell them is maybe you thought that your food was something that would make you happy or not. Now, your food is something that will make your children happy or not, because that will decide if you would be here or not in some years. When they see that perspective, that everything they eat is not for them, but for their children to have them or not in a few years, they see a different perspective. So every time you eat, you're doing an exchange. You're exchanging time. Either you're getting time of life or you're giving away time of life. And when you understand that your time is not yours after you have kids, you're trading with a time that is not yours. So you don't have the right to trade your time for food or for the wrong food when you have children. And as soon as they understand that, they commit and they have the adherence that will give you the right of saying in the future that you got that person here and you got that person there. And after a year, they change the clearly results because they did this and this and that. But you need to do the right study.
That is a really wonderful information, Guillermo. I appreciate that. Unfortunately, we're running out of time. Unfortunately, so what? Two things. I definitely want to jump on and chat with you on a podcast that you do. I might even be able to do it, and I might be in Miami later this year, so that might be even better if you're willing to do it live. And then the other thing is, where do people go to find out more? I know you got Instagram. I mean, as far as if they want to get information, if they want to do the Cleerly test or the Spectral cell stuff, how do they do those things? And yeah, just let us know where to find you.
Well, I can give you my number. It's not a big group, so I think we can do that. If any of the persons here want to call me and have a situation that they need to talk about, I can see them for whatever they need, and I will give you the clinic number. My Instagram is at Nutriguillermo. Let me write it there in the chat box. Even if I Nutri, yeah, there you go. That's my Instagram. There's some videos on YouTube that I do in English, not a lot. That's why I'm telling you that probably the clinic number it's 786-569 569 1399 1396. Sorry. So if someone, again, I think they are pretty good with you in very good hands. But if someone has that will to do this test or to find some guidance on that, I will be happy to help them. And if you come to Miami, please stop by. I will be happy to meet you to work a little bit more together because I think our mission is hard enough to join forces. And again, we in the Latin community, we have the need of people that have been leading the American population in the right way, because sometimes this happens. You trust more leaders from outside than leaders from inside. It works like that. You
Yeah,
just
I get
another language spoken makes you think like a German guy. Oh, it's a German guy saying this. It's kind of different. Like,
I get it. Anyway, Guillermo, thank you so much. This has been wonderful. Like I said, I've got to start doing a couple consultations right now, but thank you very much. It's been wonderful information. I learned something about the spectral cell. I didn't know, I wasn't aware of that test, and I've heard about the Cleerly before, but these Cleerly, uh, are great information for people. So that's a great new little twist on things. So thank you so much. For the rest of you guys, thank you very much. We'll be back tomorrow. We got another guest tomorrow. So take care, everybody. We'll see you later. Bye-bye now.
bye.